right, Jerry, what are we doing today?
So, we are training this fine gentleman on how to use the laser cutter.
What's your name, fine gentleman?
My name's Steve.
Steve. All right, let's do this thing.
Great. So first things first is you're going to have to actually get access to the software.
Okay.
So we're going to hit Control Delete, and you're going to be using the member account. So you just have to type in member, and then it's Welcome 2016. Capital W. We'll be changing that sometime soon to something a bit more relevant.
We can just change it to Welcome 2019 and plan in advance.
Oh, you know that doesn't work. It'll take a second because it's Windows. Oh, actually, no. I don't know why it's just taking a second. It's just taking a second. I know why it's taking a second. I just logged you into the wrong account. We're going to be, setting it up so it works correctly. But currently, due to the way the software works, is we have a special account on this machine for the laser cutter software. So, pull this off. And that account is called Laser, and the password is nothing. Not nothing typed in, really, just...
There'll just be nothing typed in.
Yes. But not nothing typed in.
Who's in first?
We also do Introduction to Snark here, but you can't book that on the website.
No idea what Snark is.
Laser.
I have a feeling it's an inside joke.
No, Snark just means like making stupid jokes about things back and forth.
Oh.
Jeri, to your left. I've been logged into this for like 2 weeks, so I don't remember what the password is. Oh, this is... I need the password for the laser cutter account on the laser cutter machine. Apparently it isn't. Oh. Well, Sean's on it, and Sean's new, so let's try Welcome 2016. If it doesn't work, we'll try Geek.
Have you tried actually typing in nothing yet?
No, it's not going to be that, because we're not that. So, eventually, we'll have like the details for that posted. Right now, we're just going to log into my account.
Okay. Deal. Good.
Don't worry, it was aimed above the keyboard.
Alright, so, see right here, there's this nice little piece of software called HarkeyWorks. Go open that up. You're okay with it, making changes to your computer. I think they've just found a weird version that for some reason needs admin rights.
Okay.
Just whack enter. I did that, it didn't work. I might have... Is it supposed to be laser all lowercase? Or? No, I mean, but the... I know what I did wrong now. You have to type in the name of the computer before the laser because it's on the domain. We have things correct now. We're good. All right.
Thank you.
So, once you got the software open, you need to get your machine ready. So, you'll see right here, we have 4 switches over here.
Okay.
So, we actually need to do some, changes on one of the labels, but this is your control switch. What that means is this is actual, power for the controls, the whole system.
Okay.
As you can hear, it's starting to do stuff now. So that was it homing itself and, getting in position. Next up, we have the water pump switch. You want to have these 2 switches on at all times. When you get done with the machine, you're actually just going to leave them running. That way, the next person who comes and uses it, it'll be ready. Also, it just makes sure, that there's a, very low chance of the laser tube ever, cracking or anything like that. It's just the safest option.
Understood.
Next up, we have what's called the air pump switch. This is actually the light switch for the inside of the machine. As you know, like they just have that on. We're not going to burn too much power by having it running because it's LEDs.
Okay.
Once you've gotten that done, we have 2 switches in the walls over here. We have the air pump and the exhaust fan. which you can slowly hear winding up.
So can I play catch up here? Just to make sure I got it right. So first we're going to do the control switch.
Yep.
And that's for homing. And then we're going to do the water pump, which is going to always stay on.
Yep.
And then we're going to do the light, which you said are LEDs. And we're going to do the 2 wall switches.
Yep. Water pump runs water through the tube to make sure it stays cool. The air pump pumps air through our nozzle.
Okay.
Now the point of that is twofold. One, it keeps smoke off the lens. The lens is specifically made out of material that the infrared laser beam doesn't really interact with it. It will be focused by it, but it won't absorb any of the energy.
Okay.
That changes the moment you get a piece of dust on it. Because then the dust will absorb energy, which will heat up the lens, which will discolor the lens, which will heat up the discolored part, and it goes out from there. That's how you end up with the shattered lens.
Gotcha.
And it provides fresh oxygen for your cut. And the exhaust fan just pulls smoke out of there because some of the things you cut on here don't smell good.
Like leather, for
yes.
example.
Yes, leather smells a lot like burning flesh for some reason. I don't know why.
Interesting.
I felt another good one. If you want to just have burning hair on your hands and everything for the next week, so you do it. So once you've gotten all your switches up and going, you can start working your project.
Okay.
So normally what you would do is you would hit import and open up an AI file or a DXF file that you've made on another machine.
Do you want me to
AI
grab,
is well, right now we're just going to use a test image.
Okay.
Basically, I just throw it in shapes to show you the different layers, stuff like that. Afterwards, we'll pull up your design and let you cut it.
Cool.
So, but AI is for Adobe Illustrator, which you've used. DXF is for AutoCAD. Which is one of the newer AutoCAD formats. So, for now, what we're going to do is just throw in some shapes. So you have 5 main layers here. The black layer is for your through cuts. Your blue layer is for a scan. I'll explain what these are once I get done laying them down.
Okay.
The red layer is for your etches. The green layer is an additional scan layer. I'll explain what that's for in a little bit. And then your peach is for low power cuts for like paper. So, when I say the black layer is for through cuts, that means it's set up so it's the appropriate power level for cutting through your material. Now it's not going to do it in one pass, and you don't really want to do it in one pass. Well, yes and no. Using a laser cutter is a bit like baking a cake. Where the recipe calls for you to bake it at 350 degrees for 10 minutes. Baking at 3,500 degrees for 1 minute will not do the same thing. And here that basically means your material can only absorb a certain amount of energy. So if you were to try to pump 100% of the power through it and do a fairly quick cut, all you're going to do is end up charring your material, forming a carbon layer, and then making it where you basically can't cut through that spot. It took us a while to sort of figure that out. So we were just on the edge of fully bolting up that carbon layer. So we still cut through it, but our parts just weren't really that nice. So, by default, that is 50-50-40. We ask that if you need to set up any custom layers and whatnot, you do it past these 5. You just select a color, you can change your settings there.
Understood.
The blue layer is for your scan layers. What a scan is rather than following the line, which is what a cut does, scans sweep back and forth between the blue lines. If you have another set of blue lines inside of it, they'll actually go from this edge to that edge, leaving this unburned.
Okay.
So it's sort of like a, you know, even or.
So are you providing yourself negative space? Is that what it's creating?
The scan?
Is that the purpose of why you lay that in there?
Oh, so what this, you know, this case, rather than it just building a big solid square, it's going to make a, you know, a ring, so to speak.
Right, it's creating negative space in the center.
Yes, okay, yes.
Okay.
So, I actually want to show you, get an idea of what this is going to look like by hitting preview. And it helps if I tell that to be put. There you go. So, you'll see everything that's in white is where the laser is going to hit. So you can see, as I said, this is going to etch that all out.
So you're just going to have a border, basically.
Yeah. What the red layer is for is it's a particularly low power cut, which means you're basically just going to etch into it. It usually, you know, with most materials, it'll go down like a 1/16 of an inch, but it changes material to material. Like a really hard, you know, sturdy oak, it might go down like a 32nd of an inch. On balsa wood, it'll generally cut all the way through it, and on the way through, to catch the balsa wood on fire. You generally don't cut balsa wood on this because there's just no way to keep it
What
from.
about leather?
Leather cuts just fine. You have to soak it first. You might be able to do balsa wood if you soak it, but never really tried it. And lastly is the green layer, which is not in the proper settings. Scan. So, by default, the green layer is going to be set up for what's known as independent output. What independent output is, it basically means, say you've got, you've got these two pieces right here. Now, normally, if it was, you know, independent output wasn't on, what it'll do is it will start scanning here, keep going, and start scanning here. You go back and forth between them. Now, that's not too bad if you're doing something that's like, you know, they're going to be like a centimeter apart. However, if they're going to be, you know, all the way across, like you're doing a map of America, you're doing all this, you know, all the major cities, having it travel through all that dead space just to get to something on the other side is going to waste a lot of time.
I gotcha.
So independent output tells it to just do that one, then do that one. Does them independent.
So it'll stay within this frame, or
It'll do this one, when it's done with that, it'll do this one, or whatever one is, you know,
Understood.
closest to
That
it.
makes total sense.
And again, the peach is just a low power cut. It's, you know, the appropriate settings for paper.
Now, can you layer up the cuts so you duplicate the cut?
Yes, yes. And generally the easiest way to do that is you select your bit, you go to transform. This is a good time to talk about the transform menu. You've got 5 options here. You've got move, rotate, skew, scale, and, well, skew, yeah, I guess ratio. It's weird. I've not used this one besides the actual mirroring, but the easy way to duplicate a cut is just set your angle of rotation to 0 and just you click. So those 2 clicks gave me 3 cuts. Those are my original and then 2 additions. And basically what it's doing is it's applying a new copy of that shape with a 0-degree rotation on top of it.
Okay.
So, but the rest is, you know, you type in the size you want, all that good stuff. So, a few last things. If you want to see the path your cuts will be taking, you'll use show path. It'll actually show the direction everything's moving. If you want to optimize that, you just have to click cut optimize, and it'll redraw it for a more efficient path. When you're setting up your layers, you have to keep in mind that it will, if it's on the same layer, it will make sure that it cuts the stuff in the middle before it cuts the stuff on the outside. However, if it's on different layers, it won't do that. It'll just cut them in whatever order you have them. So, for example, we want our cut layer to be on the very bottom. You can just do that by dragging, like I did, or you can tell it, manually type in a priority right here. So if I were to type in 99, it would just alert at the bottom instead of the top. Down here, you see we have a couple options for our output. So there's path optimize, so this basically is just going to run that every time you hit start. That way you're always using the most optimal path. There's output select graphics, which basically means if I select this, it's going to put out these now, and it won't do anything else. But it'll stay in relation to the screen dot.
So I can kind of modify how it prints it, so I can watch.
Yeah, it's good for, say, you're doing a shape with a bunch of holes that had to be cut out.
Okay.
And, it's done all of them except one. Just one, like, you're using some plywood, there's a bit of, like, extra glue there, so it just didn't cut through all the way, with everything else.
Okay.
So you can just basically say, I want to cut out this little bit right here, and leave the rest alone, and it'll move over and cut that out by itself.
And then, let's say, what would you push after you do that? Just cut scale?
Just start.
Start? Okay.
Yeah, but we'll get that in just a second. There's also selected graphics position, which will make it where it'll start your cut as if that's your top leftmost bit.
Okay.
That's how it decides where everything is by which corner is at the topmost left. So a few things leading up to your cut. You have position, which basically tells it where your cuts are actually going to be taking place. Now, if you look over here in the laser cutter, right now it's sort of sitting out in the middle, just by itself. If we're in current position mode, it's going to start from where that currently is.
Okay.
That's good if you...
current position mode.
Yep.
Got it.
Anchor point mode, you're not going to really worry about because that's, there's a fair amount of steps to actually implement that.
Okay.
And for the vast majority of people, you don't need that.
Machine 0.
Yeah, machine 0 will always start your cut at machine 00.
Okay.
So even if you have it out here, it'll automatically move it up to the corner.
We probably don't want that.
No. On absolute coordinate, we'll put it absolutely where you have it on this bed.
Okay.
So in this case, it's going to start it at 187.97 by 141.642 millimeters. So we're going to switch this back to current position. Now we have these two buttons right here: cut scale and go scale. What go scale means is go around, the limits of your cut. Like, for example, let me throw down a little shape here so I can be able to straight what it's going to be doing. But if you watch it, as I hit go scale, so it's actually going to move around the limits of what it's going to be cutting. Now notice it didn't follow it exactly. It just sort of made a general box of, whatever the furthest most limits were.
And does that kind of give you an idea of what space you're going to burn? So if you have something in there, you can check it?
Yeah, you can check if you're going to end up going off of your piece at any point.
Okay. That makes total sense.
And cut scale does the exact same thing, except it's firing the laser as it's moving. That way you can actually cut out, trace out a box around the area. For most stuff, you don't want to really do that, because especially if you're doing it onto a chest or something like that, you're going to end up with this big rectangle on it.
Right.
Though if it's a situation like the leather we have, if you're pretty darn sure it's going to be cutting inside the area it needs, but you want to just sort of get a visualization of how it's going to lay out, you can do cut scale, and if you got your speed high enough and your power low enough, it's just going to make this fake line, and it's going to be where, you know, it's going to end up cut out anyway. So
Okay. I see what its uses
do
are.
is hit start, and it'll actually send it over the machine. So, we do have some wood over here that people can use. We charge $1 a sheet for the plywood.
Okay.
And we're just going to load this up and do a little test cut. Now, before you actually put your material in there and start your cut, you'll need to set up your focus. Now, what you do is you measure the thickness of your material, which I know this is 3mm wood, and then you need to set your focus appropriately for that. Now, as of a week ago, we had this really neat stick with like these predetermined layers and whatnot. We're pretty sure a member accidentally took that and like threw it away with the scrap. But this will do the same thing. It's just a bit more fiddly. So, you'll notice that 23mm is the smallest number on here. This is your 0mm mark. If you have something with basically no thickness whatsoever, it's going to be this. Now going up from there, half of your material thickness plus this 23 is the appropriate stick to use. So I've got 3mm wood, which means half of that is 1.5mm. So 23 plus 1.5mm, yep, 24.5, so we go 24.5. Which we'll see it's actually already
Sticker right there with that.
it's already set up.
Perfect.
But if it wasn't set to the right height, you can use these buttons on the side right here to change it. Now, when you're lining it up, I'm going to get right under there. It's useful to have your air on already. That way you can hear it sort of cutting.
Snug up.
Yeah. But you can hear it sort of change. And you're looking to just sort of have, you know, it's not in there super tight, but you can't just sort of like knock it out. You have to push it out. So, we'll throw in our wood. We'll get it to a position that it's not being super wasteful. And then I'm going to shrink this down so we're not using up a huge piece of wood. So, we're going to do a go scale, and so you don't have to like, you know, hit the button and rush over there and look at it. You can actually watch it up here.
Oh, perfect.
It won't be as precise, but it'll give you a good idea of.
You can kind of see.
Yep.
It kind of looks like it. Well,
So, next up, we just need to hit start, and it sends it over. Now it's doing the cut. The problem is, it's not doing the cut. So, this is a, you know, good sort of way to make sure that you're going to actually do it in the correct area.
okay.
Generally, you want to make sure the last thing you do is hit this final switch.
Okay.
This is your laser switch. You'll know it's on because it starts screaming. Now, when that switch comes on, you do not open this door.
Right.
This is not the kind of laser that makes you go blind because there's too much light. This is the kind of laser that makes you go blind because it has seared off your cornea. It will actually cause the lens of your eye to just completely melt. And it's, in addition to it melting, you'll also cause a flash of light in your eye that will make you go blind in another way. If this does happen, the only way to restore vision is to get an actual transplant for your lens, which that's a very long list of people. And if you do manage to get a transplant, you get maybe 80% of your vision back. So,
Sounds like a fun Tuesday.
yeah, when we say do not open the door, it's for a very good reason. This class of lasers, it doesn't even have to like directly hit you. Just a little bit of it reflecting off is enough to do it. That being said, the nice thing is polycarbonate is the appropriate material to protect you from laser fire, at least infrared laser fire. So if you're feeling extra paranoid, wearing a pair of polycarbonate safety glasses while this is doing its thing, you know, there's pretty much no way it can, you know, get you. So
while it's running, you shouldn't be looking at it at all?
yeah, you can look at it through here because polycarbonate will be able to absorb anything. And it takes about 30 seconds for it to even get through the polycarbonate. If at all. Two, while this thing is running, you are watching it at all times with your feet on this pad. If you need to stop and use the bathroom, get a drink, and like that, you hit the start pause button and it'll stop it. But due to the fact that this is just going to be spitting energy into a very flammable material, if it does catch fire, you need to be there to stop it. On those lines, if it starts freaking out or actually catches on fire, the procedure is just hit the stop button, yell for help. And if you know how to use a fire extinguisher, we have one right here. This is a CO2 fire extinguisher. That is important because if you use this guy, it will not hurt the machine. If, you know, for some reason you manage to dump that entire thing out in there, the fire's not out, and no one's shown up yet, you know, we have another one right here, which is a powder fire extinguisher. This is sort of a last resort extinguisher. This will dump a ton of powder to the machine. It will definitely put out flames, but it's going to go into every opening on your face, which is not going to be great, and it's going to shut the machine down for probably a month, if not permanent. But it'll save the building from burning down. That's what's important. Now, when I say if it catches fire, I don't mean if there's flames. Flames are just a natural byproduct of this. Basically, if you see that the flames are either growing in size or not going down, generally that means, you know, it is now self-sustaining. You need to do something about it. Usually, it's small enough that you can hit the e-stop. You know, and by the time the air turns off, it's like starts to sort of like smolder, and it's still going, but it's not growing. At that point, you can usually just, you know, pull your piece out, throw it into this burn barrel, and then just walk it out the door. But say, for example, you found this really neat piece of wood out in the shed, and you realize it had been soaked in kerosene for the past year. In that case, you know, as soon as it goes up, don't be afraid to go straight for that. Sounds good. That's the basics of the safety. So now, I'm just going to start this up for real now. And there it goes. Like I said, if you need to stop at any point, you just have to hit the pause button. And starting up again, simple as beginning to get. If you realize that, you know, it starts cutting, you realize, oh, darn, I wasn't supposed to do that part. You just hit pause and then hit escape, and it will cancel out your cut. Like I said, you'll see right there that it's cutting out the scan in that sort of fashion, where it's just moving back and forth, taking out anything you don't need. After this, it's actually going to do the engraved layer, red layer. And it's doing that 5 times because we said it would do that. Now it's doing the independent output engrave, just doing them one by one. What?
Oh, I gave it up to her.
Oh. So, and it did our low power cut and our through cut. Now, it didn't actually cut all the way through. Like I said before, you generally want to do more passes because, you know, there's only so much energy. So, what you can do is just turn off the other layers. In situations where you have a whole bunch of holes with engraving and all that, you just generally want to turn off the other layers. It'll be a lot easier than trying to select each and every one. But that's done using the output. Now all you have to do then is hit start. Now, basically, you just want to sit here and watch your piece and hit start until it looks like it has fallen through, which in case it just did that right now. Perfect. So, you turn off your laser, you pull open the lid, pop out the piece, and then you retrieve the piece. So, and that is the basics of the laser. Any questions?
That's awesome. Good. Thanks.
So you know, pricing on the laser is, you know, $5 an hour. That's the start of you going onto the machine to you leaving the machine. So you know, just keep a track of when you started on it and when you stopped on it. That's also why you want to sort of take care of everything you need to do before you start using the machine. Either that or get a buddy who can sit along and watch, make sure it doesn't catch on fire. So, any questions? Or?
No.
All right.
It's a pretty thorough class. Thank you.
You're welcome.